the glorious state of Virginia, ripe with potential, but infested with danger. You could just be minding your own business on the road, or you could pick the wrong berries to eat. I'm Scooter Bays, and I'm here to help you become a survivor. This is Scooter's Declassified Virginia Survival Guide.
Now, what's the point of surviving longer, you ask? Studies show that a longer life expectancy correlates to higher community quality life. And true survivors are all about that quality, not just quantity. The average life expectancy in Virginia is 79.5 years, but it's 82 in Canada. We gotta catch up, folks. To figure out how, my team of survival experts turned to machine learning to figure out what factors correlate with longer surviving Virginians.
We use data straight from the
glorious state of Virginia
website and joined it together using handy-dandy census tract numbers. This data includes everything from the income inequality and population density of a county to the air quality and walkability rating. By looking at a correlation matrix, we don't need our handy-dandy survivor binoculars to see that education and consumer opportunity have an early lead in predicting life expectancy. Although education speaks for itself, the consumer opportunity profile factors in access to housing and credit as well.
To take the analysis of these factors to the extreme, we tried our hand at k-means clustering. For this, you initialize some number of clusters and automatically sort the points based on how close each of the values are in all the ways we measure a locality. We got the best data with 3 centroids, so take a look in your survival guide for the plots. The blue cluster was high in community environment and decent at life expectancy. The orange cluster was well educated, just like you folks, and even better with life expectancy. The green cluster was poor in both, and they need our survival guide most of all. This shows communities need to prioritize education and environment to improve overall quality of life.
Now, we could have stopped right there, but no. A real Virginia survivor consults all resources at his or her disposal. I'm Booster Baggins, and let me tell you about dimensionality reduction. Now folks, the dataset from your survival handbook is pretty darn comprehensive, with a full 21 features. See, we can't just use support vectors on this. No sir, we wouldn't be able to plot no useful boundaries. We gotta extrapolate our 21 into 2 features for our Virginian eyes to visualize. In comes principal component analysis, and its better cousin, T-distributed stochastic neighbor embedding, or TISNE as we like to call it on the survival squad. TISNE can get a bit heavy on our computers, but it takes work to simplify the problem while keeping differences clear as day. PCA alone on 2 features looks like a slick little gradient, but only explain 46% variance. TISNE on our data down to 2 features didn't produce discernible results, whereas running PCA with 10 dimensions and a 94% information capacity first, and then TISNE on the reduced dimensions produced a very distinct separation of life expectancy.
But hold on, doesn't where you live change how long you live? They call me Softmax, and I added latitude and longitude to our dataset, which a real survivor finds using a compass and the orientation of the stars. By running k-means again, but with geographical information, we found that there are 2 main clusters separating the urban and rural areas of Virginia, meaning those soft city dwellers are harder than we originally thought. Based on our data, it seems like it's most attributed to their better education and consumer opportunity ratings. The urban centers have more resources, so perhaps we could increase our overall survival by diverting resources to poor rural neighborhoods. But surely, inner cities aren't much better off than rural areas, right? Let's see what upping it to 3 cluster shows us. Now, the suburbs are distinguished from the urban centers. By visualizing based on material deprivation and walkability, we see that the urban-rural divide is the most distinctive cause of survival inequity in Virginia. Notice how the cluster of suburbs is the clear winner in life expectancy, whereas the rural and urban now fall to the same level.
Now folks, a true survivor don't gotta be a lone survivor. You can look out for yourself by getting your money up and not your funny up. But this here information would be of utmost importance to regulatory bodies in the glorious state of Virginia that actually run things. Through our k-means clustering before factoring in geography, we learned that communities with better education and community environment have longer living survivors. This is vital data for budgeting and aid purposes, so now our governing bodies know to focus more of the budget in schools and environmental reform.
Our studies of dimensionality reduction show us that when we simplified the data we looked at to less dimensions and then visualized it, we can see better visual distinctions between longer and shorter surviving areas. This can be fed into another model later on for advanced survival studies.
Finally, survivors, by looking at how geography affected our clustering, we learned that those darn city dwellers know a thing or two about living longer lives that we don't. Furthermore, three-way clustering showed us that the state should prioritize funding and resources for inner cities and areas in rural Southwest Virginia to improve overall life expectancy.
Overall, we believe the most vital tool for a survivor and the government for figuring out what areas to focus aid on is our geographical clustering, as that both shows concerned parties what factors they should focus on improving to help Virginians survive, as well as where specifically on a map this aid should be going.
We survivors are constantly learning and adapting. Using machine learning to look for contributors to life expectancy taught us many lessons, including how to consult different models for the best conclusions, how visualization early on can change the direction of our analysis, and how we can extrapolate a small set of indicators that explain the variance in our data just as good as our entire set of features. In fact, the dimensionality reduction can help us pursue other ML approaches.
In the future, we plan to expand the use of this data to predictive models like random forest regressors and support vector regressors. This way, we could study an area, figure out what its life expectancy could look like without having to measure it, and then use this information to figure out how much help it needs.
But till then, I've been Scooter Bays, and you've just been learned a thing or two on how to survive in the glorious state of Virginia. See you next time on Scooter's Declassified Virginia Survival Guide.
Yeah!